output tag whose ID is equal to email, right? So we can just write ID is email. Okay, so right, so here you see that this find element, it finds the element on the web page. And when you are finding the element, if we look at the documentation as well, it returns you the reference of the web element class. Just a minute. Yeah, so here you can see that this is the find element function. It returns you the reference of the web element class, web element, right? So over here you can see that it return value is of type web element with the inside the find element method. Okay, so this web element is also another interface in Selenium. This interface represents the generic elements on the web page. Okay, that is by the criteria with which you will be finding the element, it gives you that. Okay, so here it says that it defines the interface through which the user controls elements on the web page. Okay, like yesterday also I told you that everything that you see on a web page is an object. In Selenium, object is a web element. Okay, so that web element can be a button, it can be a link, it can be a text field, radio button, it can be anything that you see. Okay, so everything is a web element. Okay, so this web element has a generic function which you want to fire on the web element. Like for example, if we want to click, then you have the click function, then you have clear function, text, selected, location. These are all the functions provided in the web element class interface. Okay, that is you can see that this location selected, whether the element we want to select, find the location, whether it is enabled or displayed. So these are the various functions that come up with the web element interface. Okay, so over here when you write driver.findElement, it returns you the object of the web element interface, like as we have seen now. Okay, so it returns you the object of the web element. So we can simply write email ID is equal to this, right? And then if we want to type into that email ID field, then we can simply write email ID dot send keys, and say suppose I give my name inside that. Okay, so now when I'll just run my code. Okay, so it opens the Chrome browser, right? So here you see that it identifies this email ID field and types my name inside it. Okay, so this is how you can find the element on the web page and can operate according to your requirement on that particular page. Right, now one thing to note over here is that I identified the object on the Firefox. Right, we identified this object, this email ID field in the Firefox, but when I executed, I'm executing it on Chrome, and it worked fine also. Right, now the reason is that because the page source remains same across all the browsers. It's not there, it is not like that if in the Firefox this text field has an ID is equal to email, but and in Chrome browser it wouldn't be having the same ID. No, it is not like that. In the Chrome also, this text field has the ID email only. Okay, so that is why like as we can see also that we inspected this email ID field in Firefox, whose details as you can see over here. Just a minute. Okay, and when we are executing in Chrome, it is working fine. because the page source remains same across all the browsers. Okay, and now one more thing is that in Chrome we do not have Firebug inbuilt functionality inside the Chrome. But then how will you identify the objects on the Chrome? Like, say suppose you don't want to use Firefox in your project, you want to use Chrome, then how will you identify the objects? Well, in Chrome we have the Chrome inspector. Okay, say suppose I open the Chrome browser. Now say suppose if I want to inspect this text field over here. Okay, so in Chrome you have the Chrome inspector which is inbuilt. Say suppose I right click on this text field and you select inspect. Alright, so here you can see that it is an input tag whose ID and all are being displayed over here. Right, so over here you can just inspect any element that you wish to. Like this is under the div tag whose ID is equal to logo, title is Google and all. Okay, so this is how you can just inspect your elements in Chrome with the help of Chrome inspector. We do not have Firebug in Chrome. Okay, so this was one thing. Now another thing is that one of the easiest way to identify the objects is by ID, like we just did right now. We just identify the element with the ID. Right, now you can even identify the elements with some other criteria also. Okay, say suppose you want to identify with name, class, then you can identify with them as well. Okay, now one more thing is that, like, as we have seen that we are finding the element with ID over here. Now say what if the two elements have same ID? This situation might come before you. What if the two elements have same ID? It generally doesn't happens, but in some mobile apps it is there that there are elements with two ID, the two similar ID. Okay, now what happens is that say suppose we have 3 elements on the web page with the same ID. Okay, now when Selenium scans the page, it scans from top left corner to the top right corner. Okay, so now if we look at the documentation of the C#, we go to the FindElement function. Okay, just a minute. I go to the WebDriver interface in which we generally find the elements. Okay, so now over here you see that we are in the WebDriver interface. We have a function known as FindElement, which is used to find the elements on the web page. Right, so now over here you can see that in the FindElement description it says that it finds the first web element using the given method. Okay, so as soon as it gets the first web element, that is this, as soon as it gets this first web element, it uses it. Okay, and then the second or the third object remains same as it is. Okay, now the second and the third will be ignored. Now what if we want to use the second or the third web element? Because the FindElement function, it finds the first web element on the given page and then uses it, and then the rest of the elements are just there as it is. They are ignored. Now what if we want to use the second or the third or the fourth web element? Then how will we use that? Okay, so I will tell you that also, but for the time being just make it a note that the FindElement function, it finds the first web element and uses that and ignores the other web elements on the page. Okay, so that was one point. And now like I was telling you that there is one criteria that we have seen over here, that we are finding this email ID with the help of the ID. Right, now we can even find this text field with some other criteria as well, that is by name also, if we want to find. Then by name also we can find, right? Say suppose you can write by dot a name. Okay, so now when I run my code, it will execute successfully, perfectly fine. Okay, so here you see that it is going perfectly okay. It identifies this email ID field and types my name inside it. Okay, so this is according to your requirement. You can find by any criteria that you are interested in. Okay, so you have various other locator strategies. Now say suppose what if the object is not having the ID or the name, then the things get little complex over there. Okay, so over there we use Xpath. Okay, there are various other properties, various other locator strategies present as well, and one of them is the Xpath. Okay, now what is the Xpath? Now as we all know that every person has the name uniquely identifies you, right? So similarly elements has the Xpath uniquely identifies the web elements on the page. Okay, so now there are two types of Xpath. One is the partial Xpath, and another one is the complete or absolute Xpath. Okay, now say for example in the Gmail website we have this text with us, one account all of Google. Okay, if I just inspect this text over here, if you look into the page source, you see that this is under the h1 tag, and you have this under the h1 tag, right? Under the div tag we have the h1, and in the h1 heading we have this one account all of Google, right? So this h1, it does not have any attribute with it, simply the h1 tag, and you have the text over here, simply no attribute, nothing is there inside this. Okay, so now over here how will we identify this object? If suppose we want to identify this text over here, then how will we identify, because it doesn't have any attribute associated with it. Okay, so it starts with the h1 and it ends with the h1, it does not have any attribute in between. Okay, so now over here we will use the Xpath. Okay, so how will we use that? I'll just tell you. Okay, so in this case we will start from the beginning, right? So over here you can see that under the HTML tag we have the body tag, right? Then under the body we have div tag. Okay, say for example like over here you have firstly the HTML tag, then you have under the HTML we have the head and the body tag, and under the HTML we have the body tag. Okay, so with the under the body tag there is a div tag, right? And inside this a div tag we have this h1 inside the second div tag, right? We have this inside the second div tag. So you write, so over here we have written second a div2, and under this div we have this, under this div also we have two div. Okay, and we have this h1 inside the first div. So you write div1, and under the div we have the h1 tag. Okay, so this becomes your complete Xpath for this text over here, that is one account all of Google. Okay, so did you understand this concept?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now say suppose we want to find this heading, so we can simply write over here I can write driver dot find element by dot xpath, and you can simply write the Xpath over here, which is this Xpath. Okay, and if you want to print the text, you can simply write heading dot text. Right, so now when I run my code, you will see. Okay, so it types and so over here also you see that it prints the text of the heading, that is one account all of Google. Right, so this is how you can just find your elements on the web page, okay, with the help of the Xpath as well, when there is no other way to find them. If suppose some elements, some tags do not have any attribute associated with then in that case we'll be using the Xpath. Okay, so now over here you see that we have calculated the complete Xpath, that is from the starting till the end. We are going towards each and every tag in between. Okay, but in Firefox there is no need to calculate the Xpath. There are tools available in especially in Firefox. Okay, that is, we have FirePath. Okay, so it is installed on top of the Firebug, right? Just a minute, we can just install the FirePath as well. Okay, so before installing the FirePath, just make sure that Firebug is installed first on your system. Okay, so I install the FirePath. So it asks for a restarting of the Firefox. Okay, so now if I inspect this element in FirePath, so over here you see that this so FirePath have the complete Xpath automatically, right? So over here as you can see that just a minute. Right, so here you see that if this FirePath, it gives you the complete Xpath of this email ID field, like from here, from the starting till the end, that is, it starts from the HTML tag and goes till the input tag. Under the div we have the input tag, right? So this FirePath, it gives you the XPath of the it gives you the complete XPath of the web elements automatically. Okay, you do not have to generate them on your own. Okay, so now, and one more thing is that instead of this, when you have the first div tag, or when you have anything that is first only, then it's not necessary to write one over here. You can simply write the same, you can simply write simply a div or an input. It's not necessary to write the this one digit before after any tag. Okay, it will work, but if you have it under the second or the third tag, there is the second or the third tag, then you need to specify the div 2 or div 3. But if you have it only for one, then you do not need, then you do no need to specify the one digit after every after any tag name. Okay, so this was one thing. And now, like as I told you, that the XPath remains same for all the browsers, because the page source remains the same. Like as I told you that the page source remains same across all the browsers. That is the reason that the XPath also remains same for all the browsers. Okay, in the Chrome browser also, this email ID field will also have the same XPath that is there inside this Firefox, right? Right. Now, in the complete XPath, one problem is there. The problem is that suppose if you get the XPath of this email ID field, as you can see that this is the XPath of the email ID field, which is a very big one. As you can see that it's a large one. This XPath is too big for the email ID field. Okay, now what if the application changes tomorrow? Then the sum tags would get added up or some would be removed. Then will you open the code again and make the changes over there? Okay, so that will create a problem in that case. Okay, so although the complete XPath is very accurate, it starts from the root and goes till the end, till the document goes to the end of the document. Okay, but if there are some changes tomorrow, then in that case it would create a problem. Okay, so in that case we use the partial XPath. Okay, we can use the complete XPath also, but when nothing works, we are using the complete XPath only. But we generally prefer using the partial XPath because it is the short form and we can easily identify them with the partial XPath as well. Okay, so now how do we get the partial XPath? Okay, over here I just unselect this generate absolute XPath, and now when I inspect, just a minute. Right, so here you see that this is the partial XPath of the email ID field. You just a minute, you just uncheck your generate absolute XPath and then it will give you the partial XPath of the web element and of the any web element that you are looking for. Okay, so over here as you can see that the partial XPath starts from double slash. Okay, so this double slash now double slash a, it represents all the link tags. Okay, so double slash a means it represents all the link tags, right? Similarly, if there is double slash input, then it would represent all the input tags, right? And say suppose you have double slash star, then it represents all the elements on the page. These elements can be any element, that is a link or a button or a radio button or a checkbox, any element it can be. So double slash star means all the elements on the web page, it will represent all the elements. Okay, double slash a means it represents all the link tags, input means input tags, and double slash star means all the elements on the web page. Okay, so now if we consider this XPath of the email ID field, it says double slash star whose ID is equal to email. Okay, so it says, now as I told you that double slash star means all the elements, right? So it is saying that out of all the elements, get me an element whose ID is equal to email. Okay, so in that case this represents the this text field, right? So out of all the elements on this web page, it will extract you the element whose ID is equal to email. Okay, so this XPath means this, right? So now if we go to the website of the Selenium as well. Okay, now say suppose I want to inspect this previous releases, this link over here. Okay, so over here if we look into the partial XPath, the XPath of this previous links, this is the XPath of this link. Now how it is extracted, let's just look into that. Okay, so now what Firebug does is that, as you can see that it is an in anchor tag whose, and these are the attributes for that. Okay, now what it says is that, now as we know, as over here we can see that this anchor tag has no ID associated with it, right? So it jumps one step above. Just a minute. Okay, now as you can see that this anchor tag has no ID associated with it, right? So it jumps one step above into the li tag. Okay, so under this, so over here you can see that this is an anchor tag, and since it doesn't have ID, so it jumps one step above, that is it goes under the li tag, right? And then this li also doesn't have any ID, right? So this jumps one step above under, that is the ul tag, right? So this is this ul tag. This ul also doesn't have any ID, so it also jumps one step above, that is under the, that is the li tag, right? So this is the li tag, right? And now this li tag, before li tag also doesn't have any, so it jumps one step above, that is the ul tag. And now this ul has the id is equal to nav, right? So it is this, right? So now over here you can write the ul also, but star means all the tag, and if you write ul also, that will also work. It will give you the same previous releases link. Okay, so this is how the XPaths are generated. Okay, so did you understand this concept?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this is how it makes the XPath, the Firebug in Firefox. Okay, now if we go to the Chrome browser, okay, if we inspect this web element, okay, now if suppose you want to get the XPath from the Chrome browser, right? So what you do is that suppose we want to get the XPath of this text field. So what you do, you right click and you select copy XPath, right? And if we paste this, so it says that it also gives you the partial XPath of that field, that is this XPath. Okay, so it says that out of all the elements, this is the, that is the text field whose id is equal to fake box input. Okay, so the XPath would be same in both the browsers, that is in the Chrome and the Chrome and the Firefox browsers, but with only one difference is that instead of double quotes we have single quote in Firefox. Okay, in Chrome you have double quotes, but in Firefox we have single quotes. Okay, this is the only difference. Rest it would give you the same output, the same XPath in both the browsers. Okay, so that was with the Chrome. And so suppose we want to inspect any element in the Internet Explorer browser. So now so in order to inspect the elements in the Internet Explorer, say suppose I go to the gmail.com website. Okay, say we want to inspect the email id field, then in the Internet Explorer, in the IE browser also, in order to inspect any element, what you do is that you hit F12. You press F12 from your keyboard, and then you will get you will see an inspector tool coming up, which will give you the which just a minute. Okay, so you see that it inspects, we are inspecting this email ID field. So here you can see that it is an input tag whose name and all the attributes are right there. Okay, so you can just check your page source from the Internet Explorer browser also, like this. You need to just press the F12 key from the keyboard, and you will be able to inspect the elements on the in the Internet Explorer. Okay, but there is no way to find the XPath in case of IE browser. There is, I do not have not find anything to find the XPath from the Internet Explorer browser. Okay, but in case if you want to inspect the elements, you can just get the XPath from any of the browsers, and see Pesos is same across all the browsers. Okay, so you can just get the XPath from any browser, that is the Firefox or the Chrome browser, if you are working with IE also, because the XPath would remain same in all the browsers. There is no other issue for that. Okay, so this was with the IE, that how we can work with the ID, right? Now if we go to the gmail.com website, now over here, if we want to inspect this text over here, this heading text, right? So now this text, as we can see that it is not giving us the partial XPath, it is giving us the complete XPath. If we try to find the partial XPath of this text, it gives the complete XPath, right? It is because it is not able to find any ID between the just a minute, right? It is because there is no ID between the HTML and the h1 tag. You cannot find any ID in between, right? So this is because, that is why it gives us the complete XPath for this text over here, for this heading. Okay, because we do not find any ID in between. Okay, so if in that case, we will be getting the complete XPath only. So by default, it gives the complete XPath. Okay, so this was one thing, that how can you identify the objects. That is, if we look into this gmail.com website also, what was our requirement was that we want to run the Gmail script. That is, I want to type my name inside this email ID field in all the three browsers. I want to run the script in all the browsers, right? So we just did this code. That is, I just took one variable, that is a string variable browser, and I quoted to any of the browser, and then I, with the help of the WebDriver interface, since in the WebDriver interface we have all the classes, that is all the browser classes, so we just initiated the browser according to the this string variable, right? And then we just redirected the URL to the gmail.com website, and then I identified the email ID field with the help of name or ID also, with, as I have shown you that we can identify with ID and name and anything that you wish to. Okay, so ID and name, it uniquely identifies the object on the web page. Okay, so you can also write by ID also, or by name also, or by XPath also, as of now we have seen that by XPath also we can identify the elements on the web page. Okay, so like shall I explain you one more example, that how to extract the partial XPath, or you are well and good for
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, you can show me one more example.
Sorry.
Yeah, let's have one more example.
Yeah, okay. Right, say for example I go to this qtpselenium.com website. Right, now over here, say suppose I want to inspect this link over here, that is the free qtp uft videos. Right, I inspect this link. Oh, just a minute. Right, so over here you can see that we have this partial XPath for this free videos link. Right, so now how it is generated, let's just look into that. Okay, so now over here, that as we know that this is an anchor tag. Right, it is an anchor tag. Now this anchor tag doesn't have any id with this, so it goes one step above, that is under the li tag. Right, so we have first of all this anchor tag, then under the anchor we have this li tag. Right, and now this li also doesn't have any id, so it goes one step above, that is it will go under the ul. Okay, so it goes under the ul tag. Now under the ul, since we have this, under the ul we have two li tags, and this anchor tag is under the second li tag. Right, so we are writing over here li2. Right, so this is this, and then this ul also doesn't have any id, so it also goes one step above, that is it goes under the div tag, and inside this div we have an id whose value is equal to this very example, that is bs example navbar collapse 1. Okay, so it stops till here, that is this one. Okay, now over here instead of star you can write the div also, since star means all the elements, so we can write star, or we can write the name of the tag as well, that is you can write div also. Okay, so that will give you the same output, that is it is the XPath for this very link only, that is the free videos link. Okay, so this is how the XPath works. Okay, so the Firebug, it will always give you the XPath on the basis of the id of the web element. Right, so over here as you can see that on the basis until the time it is not finding the element, it will keep on traversing above and above, it will jump one step above, and as soon as it finds the id, it will stop there. Like over here you can see that it stops till this div idiv, which has an id is equal to this value. Okay, so now did you understand?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Right, now say suppose can two elements on the page have same XPath? The XPath, it is just like a name, like as we can two people have same name, similarly with the XPath also. Okay, it is possible, like we two people can have same name. Right, so similarly with the XPath also, two elements on the page can have the same XPath, it is possible. Okay, now like as I told you, we have seen, I just told you that this double slash a means it represents all the link tags, then double slash input means all the input tags, and double slash star means all the elements on the web page. Okay, now and this we have seen this XPath for the email id field, that is it says that all the elements, out of all the elements, it there we have extracted an text field whose id is equal to email. Okay, so with the name also we can make the XPath, like instead of the id we can write name also, which will give you the same result, same element on the web page. Sorry. Okay, so this was how we can just identify the elements with the help of XPath. Okay, so now like you can identify the elements with a name also or with id also. Okay, or we can even identify the elements with both of the name and the ID. Okay, or you can say okay, so you can identify with both of them as well. Okay. Now you can give any attribute also which uniquely identifies the element. Like say for example, if we look into this Gmail website, we have this heading with us, that is one account all of the Google. Now this heading, it gives you the complete XPath, as we have seen that since there was no ID in between, so it gives us the complete XPath. Okay, because there was no division with the ID in between the HTML and the head and the h1 tag, right? So you can make your own customized XPath also for this heading as well, right? But how we can do that? Like as you can see that this is the h1 tag under the div tag. We can see that there is a division with the class is equal to banner, right? So under that, and under that we have the h1 tag, so we can just make the XPath as you can say that there is a div tag whose class is equal to a banner. Okay, and under that we have the h1 tag. And now if I do eval, so you see that it will extract, it extracts the this heading only. Okay, so you can make your own XPath also, you can make your own customized XPath also for any of the web element. Okay, like as we have seen that, since we know that, since we can see that this heading is under the div tag whose class is equal to banner, so we can just make our own XPath as well with this very value. Okay, so there are two things, that is one element can have multiple XPath. One element can have multiple XPaths, so it is true. Okay, so as we can as we have, you can see over here that we can write, since we can write another XPath, and we can generate another XPath for this heading, as that under this we can also write that it is a, just a minute, you can also say that okay, you can also make the XPath as like this also, that h1 is under the div and this div is under another div whose class is equal to main context clearfix. So we can also generate the XPath like this also. Okay, so you can generate multiple XPath for one element, like as I have written that one element can have multiple XPath. Okay, okay, so this was one thing, right? So did you understand? It's like, or you can simply write h1 also, and now when you do eval, so it will also give you the same this XPath would be for the email only, for this heading only, right? So one element can have multiple XPath, you can generate as many XPath for a single element on the web page.
Okay.
Okay, so that was one thing. And another one thing is that, can multiple elements have one XPath? Is it possible? Yes, this is also possible. multiple elements can also have one XPath. Okay, now for example, as I told you that /* means it represents all the elements on the web page, and /a it represents all the link tags, right? Or for example, if we go to the, like, I'll just tell you, say for example, if we go to the rediff.com website, in.rediff.com, right, and over here we go to the shopping section, right? So over here you can see that there are a number of buy now options which you can see on this web page. There are a lot of web now options available to us, right? Now if suppose we take the XPath of any of the web elements of any of the buy now options, so over here you can see that it is a span tag whose class is equal to product buy now, product underscore buy now. Okay, say suppose I copy this XPath for the buy now button. Okay, this is the XPath for the buy now button. Okay, now say suppose I take the XPath of this buy now button, and if I copy this XPath as well. Okay, so now did you find any difference in both the XPaths?
Yeah, there is a difference.
Yeah, this div is differing, the number is decreasing, right? Say if for example, if I consider the XPath of this buy now button as well, right, so it is differing. This the number of this div tag is differing. Okay, so it is increasing 1, 2 and 3. Rest all the XPath is same, but this div is differing. This number for the div tag is differing, right? So all the XPaths are different, but if we look into the website also, we can see that all the buy now buttons are same. These have the same color and design and texture and pattern, all are same. Okay, so you can simply, and we can see also that this buy now button is nothing but a span tag whose class is equal to product buy now. Every buy now button is the same, has the same attribute, that is a span tag whose class is equal to product buy now. Every buy now button has the same property. Okay, so what we can do is that if we keep the XPath for this buy now button as if we keep it as it is a span whose class is equal to this product buy now. Okay, and if I do eval, so so here you see that it will give you all the XPath, all the buy now button. It extracts all the buy now buttons with this very XPath. Okay, since every buy now button is nothing but a span tag under the class whose class is equal to a product buy now. Okay, so it represents all the buy now buttons on the page. So we can say that ID and name is unique, but class is not unique. Every buy now button, as we can see, that is a span with the class is equal to product buy now, and generally elements with the same look and feel have the same XPath. It is the generic rule in HTML. This is the generic rule. Okay, so you can see that every buy now button have the same look and feel, right? As I told you that the pattern and the color, everything is same. So all of them will generally have the same XPath. Okay, this is one of the generic rule in HTML, right? Now if suppose we see the price tag, like this is the price tag. What is the XPath for this? It is also a span tag whose item property is equal to price. oh, just a minute, I'll just consider the complete. Yeah, so it is the span tag whose class is equal to deal price, right? And if I look into the second price tag, it is also a span whose class is equal to deal price, right? So every price tag is also a span whose class is equal to price tag, deal price. Okay, so we can write the Xpath for this class as well, that is span whose class is equal to deal price, right? If I do eval, so it extracts, it gives you all the price tags for each and every product. Okay, so complete Selenium WebDriver works around all this, that is finding the web elements with the different strategies. Complete WebDriver, Selenium WebDriver works around all this. All right, so um, okay, so we have seen practically that how we can find the elements on the web page, but generally writing the code will tell you, it will understand, you will understand more concepts when we will be extracting the elements by the code, right? So we will be doing that, right? So okay, then we will continue tomorrow. Then we will be considering, we will just look into that how we can find these elements, the examples that I told you today. We'll just write the code for them tomorrow. Okay, that how we can find all these elements of, we can just inspect all these elements with the help of coding in Visual Studio. Okay, and we'll see the HTML table also, that in the tables also how we can inspect the table as well, the web tables and all. Okay.
Okay.